Hello and welcome to The Lucky Roll, an eclectic channel for eclectic games. And today we're reviewing New York Zoo by Uwe Rosenberg. New York Zoo is a tile-laying placement game for 1 to 5 players, in which players compete to be the first to fully develop the enclosures within their zoos. Depending on player count, each player board has a large plot of land to develop. The less players, the larger the land you need to develop. In addition to the player board, there is a central board which allows players to gain new enclosure tiles, new animals, and if players have a pair of a certain animal within their enclosure, to breed them. On a player's turn, they move the elephant from 1 to 3 spaces, depending again on player count, and opt to select either a new enclosure to place on their board or to select new animals to place in their enclosures or their housing area. If they pass a breeding mark, the 2 animals of that same pair will breed. Once an enclosure is completed, players can then take an attraction tile and place it on their board, which allows them to fill up gaps in their terrain left by oddly shaped enclosure tiles. Players can only take new enclosures if they have an animal available to place in them. The first to fully complete all spaces on their board wins. This is a game from the famous Uwe Rosenberg, a renowned game designer whose credits include Cavernia and A Feast for Odin. The Tetris-style puzzle tile laying is a common enough feature in some of his board games. However, here it makes its appearance in what I would consider a very friendly gateway game for new and younger players. Its mechanics and win conditions are very simple and easy to teach. And because of that, this is now firmly on my list for potential introduction gateway games at my local club. I personally have great time for Uwe Rosenberg's games, but some players I know can be a little hit or miss with his style, as polyominoes, Tetris-style puzzle games don't always gel with everyone. New York Zoo, however, I believe is a great way for players who are on the fence about his more famous games to try his style in a more cost-effective way, or indeed a more gentle way to introduce younger players to the mechanics he uses in other games. So if you have a smallie that's chomping at the bit to try some of your larger Rosenberg games, then New York Zoo is a lovely way to keep them satiated and prepare them for games down the line with more complex mechanics. It's a very simple, chill and relaxing little board game with adorable little animal meeples, a nice aesthetic and a clear tactile style gameplay that is easy on the eyes and fun to play. It's fun to breed the animals, and not in the way you're thinking, and the race to get the more juicier attractions that take up the more board spaces is done at a relaxed and not overly competitive pace. There is a solo variant as well as room to play up to 5 players. Thematically, however, it seems a little vague. I bought this game on holiday in New York and predominantly picked it up because of the name of the game. I thought the game itself would reflect that magnificent city in a more direct way, but it doesn't. There's nothing distinctly New York or even distinctly American about this game. If anything, quite simply, it could be a zoo anywhere in the world. Perhaps there was a missed marketing opportunity here, as games could have been produced for different regions with varying capitals such as Dublin Zoo or London Zoo, Paris Zoo, depending on the region it's sold in, as I impulse bought this game as a tourist visiting New York. Game localization is done with Monopoly games, so perhaps the publishers at Feuerland could consider localization for future reprints of the game, as all that would need to be changed is essentially the cover on the box and the name on the instruction book. I also picked it up at a very reasonable price of $20 at Barnes & Noble, which aided in my decision to impulse buy, but upon looking at its price point here again in Europe, the cost varies, so my advice would be to shop around first before you purchase. Aside from that small gripe, the components, however, are excellent for the price, and certainly not a purchase I regret making. The aesthetic and feel of the game is very charming and would be a very relaxing game to play on holiday with no take that or player interference mechanics to ruin the vibe. Players simply work on their own player board / zoo, and the first to complete it is the winner. A nice little game that deserves its spot in your shelves, or indeed your luggage back from the States if you, like me, just happen to have room for it. As always, this is Sean from The Lucky Roll. If you enjoyed these videos, please like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff, and until next time, good luck, God bless, and stay safe.